Okay, so I'm gonna review the cards independently without thinking about their synergies because we don't have the set out yet, or we don't have all the set released, and then I'll review them based off if they're playable in standard, right? That's gonna be the criteria here. So 4/7 Vigilance, if a permanent entering the battlefield causes an ability, a triggered ability of a permanent, you control the trigger. That ability triggers an additional time. Permanents entering the battlefield don't cause abilities or permanents your opponents control to trigger. What kind of ETBs do we even have? I don't think there are that many in white specifically. So this is probably not playable right now. 4/7. 4/7. So 5 mana, 4/7 no text, essentially, when it comes in. It's kind of okay against Grixis, but not really. It's only stopping Appraiser. You'd rather have an owl. Yeah. Alright, Kaito, Dancing Shadow. Whenever one or more creatures you control deals damage to a player, you may return one of them to its owner's hand. If you do, you may activate loyalty abilities of Kaito twice this turn rather than once. +1, up to 1 target creature can't attack or block until your next turn. 0, draw a card. And -2, create a 2/2 colorless drone artifact creature token with Death Touch. When this creature leaves the battlefield, its opponent loses 2 and you gain 2. That's interesting. This is good, right? Yeah, this is a really good Planeswalker. I mean, the reason it's good is just that it makes a Death Touch creature, so the stats don't matter on it, and I think it has flying, no? Or doesn't? Why does it not have flying if it's a drone? That's still fine. I don't know if this is playable in standard though. With the Brotherhood Zen running around, I would say probably not playable. But it's kind of cool. Obliterator is definitely playable. Well, I mean, what are the decks in the meta right now? Okay, if you're playing it, okay. This would be a deck that isn't in the meta. So again, I'm reviewing this for decks that are in the meta. Then we'll review it later for other decks that are possible. But I think, like, theoretically, obviously, you need to play this with a fight spell. So it's not going to be played in any deck that exists right now, but it probably will see play in a fight spell deck. Because right now, even decks like Izzet, which would normally struggle against Phyrexia Obliterator, they have Milestone, Weakstone, so I don't think this will be better than Shield Red in most situations, unless you're building around it. Koth or Koth, I don't know. Fire of Resistance, 4 mana, Red Planeswalker, 4 loyalty, +2, search your library for mountain, put it in your hand, and shuffle. -3, deals damage equals the number of mountains you control to any to creature. That's pretty bad. That's unplayable. Okay, this is unplayable. Or maybe the emblem's good? I don't know. Let's see. Whenever a mountain enters the battlefield under your control, this emblem deals 4 damage to any target. This is not playable. Why are they printing spells that don't hit planeswalkers? Like, planeswalkers are the number one problem card that you need to answer in some decks. I don't know why this doesn't target planeswalkers. It's their lazy design, in my opinion. Unless it's lore accurate that this can't hit planeswalkers, I don't know. This doesn't make any sense. It would be totally playable. Nah, it wouldn't be totally playable. But it would be borderline playable. Right now it's unplayable, but it would be borderline unplayable if it could hit planeswalkers, because then you could board it in against control decks. You can answer their planeswalkers while having a planeswalker on your side of the battlefield. But I guess even then it's not even good, right? Because the plus is so weak. I don't think revealing a basic mountain and putting it in your hand is good at all. Nah, this is not a good card. Never mind. It's just unplayable, I think. But still, it should hit Planeswalkers anyways. It's so bad that it should have that. Okay. Jor Kadeen, first Gold Warden. Boros 2-drop. 2/2 trample. Whenever Jor Kadeen attacks, it gets +X for X is the number of equipped creatures you control. Then if its power is 4 or greater, draw a card. I mean, it's obviously unplayable in standard, but this needs context. I don't think I can evaluate that. That's pretty bad, especially because the creature is legendary. Equipments are not playable. Maybe in Mardu with the what's that black artifact equipment that you can equip for 1 and it draws a card. That might be interesting. So there might be some weird new deck with that. But this, oh, but yeah, this only draws a card if it's attacking, which I guess you will be attacking. And essentially, if you equip it, it will get. So it'll be the 5/3 with the black equipment, which is not bad. Interesting. Could see play. I don't know. Too little info. Eternal Wanderer. Let's see if I can actually read this. 6 mana, white planeswalker. I think it says no more than 1 creature can attack the Eternal Wanderer each combat. That's 5 loyalty for 6 mana. So only 1 creature can attack it. That's kind of interesting. +1 exile up to 1 target artifacts or creature. Return that card on the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of that player's next end step. Very interesting. That's pretty good. 0, create a 2/2 white samurai token with double strike. Sure. I mean, yeah, it's good for 0, I guess. Double strike is effectively a 4/2. For each player, choose a creature that player controls. For each player, choose. Oh, this is a fucking commander card, isn't it? Choose a creature that player controls. Each player sacrifices all creatures they control not chosen this way. So pseudo sweeper. But that's not actually that interesting because again, only 1 creature can attack Wanderer, right? So assuming you have no board, you play this, you sweep, well they still kill the Wanderer, right? And they have a creature. So it's actually kind of weird with the static. Like you don't want to sweep unless you're dying. So in some ways you can see this as gain some life, leave them with their worst creature. But that's it, right? The plus is really good though. Because the plus can target opposing creatures, effectively stalling one of them. Because they can't attack with it. It's at the beginning of that player's next end step, so it's pretty good. The 0 is okay too. This is not terrible, but I don't think it's playable. It's too expensive. Counterspells are in the meta. Let's say you're against a deck with good Planeswalker removal. Like what's that 3 mana exile? Okay, Soul Transfer. You're gonna play this, you're gonna make a 2/2 double strike, and then they're gonna kill it. So effectively you paid 6 mana and you drew a 2/2 double strike and you played it, which is not bad. It's not terrible. I just think this getting countered is the problem, mostly. No, you choose. Yeah, you choose a creature that player controls, so. Again, it's you can leave them with their worst creature, but then they will always kill Wanderer, right? Unless you have a creature. So if you have a creature, it's pretty good. If you have 1 creature and they have a bunch, I don't know, maybe it is playable. Like the plus and the 0 are good, and the minus is okay. But this would not be in the main deck because counter spells. But maybe in a mid-range matchup, like in a Mardu mirror, I would consider this. Maybe. But then they also have Like, even if I minus, they can play the Angel, Archangel Wrath, and ping it down. I don't know. It's not. It's interesting. It's potentially playable. Oh yeah, the flicker for your own ETBs, but again, there aren't that many ETBs in white, I would say, that are worth considering. So I don't think that's too relevant. I think it's more about disabling your opponent's creatures. But you can also give something vigilance essentially. It's flexible. I would say it's pretty good, but it's expensive. So the cost is the big downside. The card itself is pretty good though. Mind Splice Apparatus, flash 4 mana artifacts. What the fuck? At the beginning of your upkeep, put an oil counter on Mind Splice Apparatus. Instant and sorceries you cast cost 1 less to cast for each oil counter. That sounds unplayable. That's a haughty djinn, but worse. And there's really no instant or sorcery that's worth playing with this anyways. Unless no, I don't see it. I don't maybe I'm not thinking about something, but I don't know. If it was an enchantment, I would say maybe there's a chance it's playable, but artifacts, probably not. It's interesting. I've never seen an effect like this, so. But again, like, what kind of deck would you have to be playing for this to be good? I can't think of any. There's no instant or sorcery based deck. A control deck wouldn't necessarily want this. No, I wouldn't because it's a permanent. It's an artifact too. I don't know. People just play a braid anyways. I don't see it. The Rat King, 3. So 2 black and 1 colorless for 3/3 toxic 1. So players dealt combat damage by this creature also get a poison counter. Other rats you control have toxic 1. When it enters the battlefield, look at top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal any number of rat cards from among them and put them into your hand. That's pretty good. But I mean, this card is good in theory. I just don't know if there are any rats. I can't think of a single rat. But this card could be interesting if the other rat cards are good. Because you're effectively drawing at least 1 rat card, I would say. So you're getting a 3/3. I mean, a 3/3 is not that good, but a 3/3 that draws a card, that draws a good card, kind of like Corpse Appraiser, that would be interesting. And then they would also get... I mean, Toxic is irrelevant, so this is effectively no text, except for... Also, except for the second thing, right? So it's a good value card, I just don't know if it's playable. Probably not. Unless they introduce more rats, but again, we have to wait for the set to come out. Like, for now, I wouldn't see this. Vindictive Flames... I was gonna say Flame Stroker, but not quite. Flame Stoker. 1 mana, red, 1/2. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put an oil counter. So oil counters are a thing now. And for 7, so 6 in a red, sacrifice this creature, discard your hand, then draw 4 cards. This ability costs 1 less to activate for each oil counter. Draw 4 cards? So for this to be good, I think it would have to cost at least, I would say 4 mana at most, but probably 3 mana. So you'd have to cast 4 instant sorceries. And it's a 1/2. That's unplayable. It's too vulnerable, and it doesn't do anything. Bad stat line. This should be a 2/1 maybe, and then it's an aggressive creature in a burn deck maybe. But a 1/2 is probably not playable. 3 mana 4/4. Trample. What the fuck? Toxic 1 players, so toxic one, yeah, poison, they get one poison counter. Whenever bloated contaminator deals combat damage to a player, proliferate. So you can give them one extra poison counter, but that's about it in standard. Unless you have +1/+1 counters. Interesting. I mean, 3 mana 4/4 is insane, and especially because this card costs 2 and 1 green. 4/4 trample is just ridiculous. This might see play, just because it's insane stat line. Proliferate is just a bonus, and it's actually quite good. Toxic is whatever. Like the toxic is kind of a meme on this card, I feel like, but the card itself is decent for sure. Most likely playable, realistically. I mean, this will definitely see play if mono green is a thing, if Gruul is a thing. Dude, why are they printing 4/4? I don't even want to think about it that much. Like in Gruul, you can copy it with Kiki Jiki, you get 2 4/4 tramplers. This is just stupid, right? I don't know. It's just so overstated, and it's kind of like the Fable problem. It's obviously not as good as Fable, but I'm saying like any card that costs a single colored mana to cast with a high power level will probably see play in some deck. It's too easy to cast. Like you don't even have to play this. You don't even have to play green as your main color. You can probably still cast down 3 with the mana base that's available in standard, especially for green. Yeah, proliferate is all counters, I know. That's why I said it was a good keyword, but it's kind of a meme with toxic. But proliferate is kind of nice, but I just don't know how that would apply to standard right now. Nobody's really using +1/+1 counters. Nobody's really using planeswalkers in aggro decks. Can't think of much, but I'm sure there's something you can do with proliferate that would be interesting. White Sun's Twilight is a X and 2 white sorcery, and you gain X life. That's a bad sign already. Create X/1/1 colorless Phyrexian might artifacts with toxic 1, and this creature can't block. If X is 5 or more, destroy all other. Whoa! Oh, never mind. The red flag is no longer there. Wait, so 7 mana Wrath, but you also get 5 1/1s, and you gain 5 life. I mean, creature can't block is a huge problem though. That is for a white deck. That's rough. So at any point before 7, this card is terrible, right? So it's probably unplayable. Realistically, if this is pretty much always a 7 mana spell, then yeah, they balanced it well because can't block is a huge downside. Yeah, that's not gonna do it. All right. This is where Mind Spice apparatus becomes good. You can try it, but I don't know, it might work. Blue Sun's Twilight is well, pretty much the equivalent to the white spell. So X and 2 blue. Sorcery, gain control of target creature with mana value X or less. If X is 5 or more, create a token that's a copy of that creature. So 7 mana copy, but double the creature. So you get 2. Or so for 4 mana, you can steal 2 drop. For 5, you steal 3 drop. This could see play. But against what? I mean, actually, I don't know. This seems terrible, actually, the more I think about it. What are you stealing? Maybe sees play in mono blue? I don't know. It's weird. I can't think of any creature that's worth stealing in standard for the cost. Other than Shield Red for 6 mana. But But you have a 5-mana spell in mono blue that can take an artifact or a creature. So actually, this is just not good, right? And you can't steal Fable. It's only creature. Oh, steal token? Steal Fable token? That's not bad. But I mean, that's not bad. Yeah. So stealing token, like putting this in the sideboard to steal a token. Sure. And Fable is a problem, but don't you want to counter it if you're playing a blue deck? This just doesn't seem to fit anywhere, because ideally you just don't like Fable resolving is already a problem. Huh? So you don't want to rely on this to steal the token, but it could be like an alternative if I don't know. Doesn't sound like it would be good, but I don't know of any other deck other than maybe mono blue that would want something like this. And they already have the 5-mana spell. That's just better because it can steal hers too. Sounds bad to me. Black Sun's Twilight, X and black, instant. Up to one target creature gets -X until end of turn. If X is 5 or more, return a creature card with mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Tapped. Oh my god. That's good as fuck. Holy shit. That's really fucking good. Holy shit. I would have to assume this would see play in the sideboard. I don't think it's a main deck card, but well, I guess it could be a main deck card because oh no, up to one. Oh, up to one. Yeah, see, this is what I mean. Yeah, up to one creature. So you can actually cast this for 6 with no target and get a 5-drop back. Or X or less. So any creature 5 or less. So this is actually flexible too. If they designed it in a way that you would have to target a creature, then it would be pretty bad, I would say. Interesting. I'm sure this will see play, but to what extent? Probably not that much. Because it's still an undercosted. Oh no, it's still an overcosted removal spell. Like it's a good card. It's just I don't know if you can really justify it in a metagame with a metagame that's this fast. This will be good in like very mid-rangey mirrors. So again, Mardu mirror, but that's pretty much all I can think of. Yeah, Mardu mirror. This is gonna be insane. This will definitely be in the sideboard at least. Maybe 1 or 2 copies. I don't think it'll be 4 of though. You need efficient removal in this format. And this is not efficient removal. This is very good card advantage on X equals 6. And it's okay removal. So that's the trade-off. Okay. Red Sun Twilight is the red counterpart to all of these cards. Well, they're all Twilight cards. Okay. So it's a red Twilight, 2 red, X and 2 red. Destroy up to X target artifacts. That sounds terrible already. If X is 5 or more, for each artifact destroyed this way, create a token that's a copy of it. Those tokens gain haste. Exile them at the beginning. This is just actually unplayable. Wow, this is the first one that's actually unplayable. The rest of them these are kind of bad. This is good, and this is just embarrassing. Yeah. 7 mana. No, this is just terrible. It's a sorcery. Like maybe if this was an instant, at least you can respond to your like you can play this on like a control deck and respond on your opponent's turn. That's just terrible. Holy shit. I don't know. I think it's mainly for removing opposing big creatures while returning. Oh, this thing, yeah. Yeah, red is insanely bad. Holy moly. It's very underwhelming after reading these that this effect is it's so specific. Like all of these are relatively flexible and have effects that are kind of streamlined. This is so targeted. And even as a targeted spell, it's not even good. I feel like for this spell to be interesting, it would have to be 1 red. And then maybe it would be too strong though. So yeah, there's no balancing this, I feel like. So they had to go with this kind of design if they were gonna decide that it was only to target artifacts. And in this case, it's gonna be between broken and bad, and it's bad, so I doubt this would see play. I could be wrong. Again, if we hit an artifact meta and somehow you can cast a 7 mana spell, maybe it's okay. But I mean, we have Brotherhood's End. Like, holy shit. How much worse is this than Brotherhood's End? Like, what kind of artifacts cost more that wouldn't get abraded or Brotherhood's End ended? This is so fucking bad, man. Like, has zero flexibility. Like, this is only for artifacts. At least Brotherhood's End and a break can both deal damage to creatures. Like, this should have. I feel like this should have an alternative where it says you can destroy or deal X damage to creatures, to X amount of creatures. There you go. And then, like, you would have to substantially change the effect, I think, for this to be worthwhile. But I think incorporating some form of damage to creatures in this would be interesting. Green Sun's Twilight. X and green. Sorcery. Reveal top X cards +1 from your library. Choose a creature and or a land. Put those cards into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. In a random order. If X is 5 or more, instead put the chosen cards onto the battlefield or into your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So choose a creature and a land. And for 6 mana, you're getting a worse enter the festival or whatever. What's that card? Festival. The green flashback card. So for 6, it's worse than that. Unless you have a creature that's way big and you're trying to like cheat it out, but that sounds dumb. Why would you even do that? For X, it's a sorcery. I feel like but at instant it would be too strong. But for sorcery, so for 3 mana, you can look at the top 2 and essentially draw both as long as they're a creature and a land. Otherwise, you're drawing 1. So top 2, so it's like a curate, but you can get more out of it, but you can also get only 1 card. It's kind of like an opt in that way. If you're only getting 1 card, it's worse than opt. Until X equals 5. But I'm talking about 3 mana. So X equals 2. If you hit both, it's good. This card's bad, right? What deck would even play this? Yeah, well, again, I'm evaluating for current for current standard and like theoretically what I think will happen. So for current standard, this is unplayable, and for theoretically, it's probably unplayable as well. Cheating stuff out like Ulamog, yeah, but it doesn't cast Ulamog. It puts him onto the battlefield, so it doesn't even get the exile effects. I don't know. I don't know. It could potentially see play, maybe. Don't cheat out some huge artifact creature or something. I don't know. But again, like, you only get to see 5 cards, so it'd have to be among those. And then the other card has to be a land, so the land is kind of useless at that point most of the time. Then the creature you have to hit, otherwise it's just worse. I don't know. It sounds terrible to me. It sounds like you would have to build your deck in a suboptimal way, and it would just make it bad on average. Ulamog for combat? I feel like there are other ways of getting Ulamog out early that don't involve that. And involve you actually casting it. Alright, Dolphins, yeah. Skrell of Defector Might is a white 1/1 with Toxic. And it can't block. Well, that's a bad sign. You can pay Phyrexian mana or white. So white Phyrexian mana, is that what you call it? Choose a color, another target creature you control gains toxic and hexproof from that color until end of turn. It can't be blocked by creatures of that color this turn. What do you get from casting a mob? You get to exile two things, no? This card is I don't know. I think this is too hard to evaluate. I don't really understand what this does too much, like what its purpose is. Obviously the effect is good, but it's on a 1 mana 1/1 and it can't block. And it's obviously not attacking. So this is like it's basically a pseudo protection spell, kind of like a dog. It sounds pretty good in theory. What are my thoughts on Phyrexian mana as a mechanic? I don't know. I don't know. I haven't played with it enough. Yeah, I don't know. This seems like it could potentially see play. I don't know if it's a worse or better dog. Selfless savior style, like sacrifice, gain indestructible. I guess you don't have to sacrifice this for its effect. Honestly, it sounds strong, but I just don't. I don't know if it's. I don't know. It sounds good to me, but weird card. Doesn't protect you against sweepers. So just very weird. Maybe sideboard against creature decks. Could be good. I mean, the Phyrexian makes it good, I think. Otherwise, it would be bad. But the fact that you can pay life instead of so this is basically a free effect is pretty good. Approaching Mycosynth. 4 mana artifact. Another 4 mana blue artifact. Not on permanents. You control artifacts in addition to the other types. That is the same is true for permanent spells you control in non-land permanent cards you own that aren't on the battlefield. Okay. That sounds very interesting. This might be playable. We have a few things that well, we have Urza that will essentially remove that will essentially allow you to cast any card for one less, but is that actually good? Do we actually have good enough artifact synergy for this? I don't think this is not a card I can evaluate right now, I think. As it stands, it would be bad because of a braid and counter spells. But yeah, maybe. Archfiend of the Dross. The 4 mana 6/6 flyer. What the fuck? 2 and 2 black, 6/6 flying. This better have a huge downside. Enters the battlefield with 4 oil counters on it. At the beginning of your upkeep, remove an oil counter. Then, if it has no oil counters on it, you lose the game. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, an opponent controls dies. Its controller loses 2 life. What the fuck? Bloated Contaminator plus Archfiend, infinite counters. This sounds broken as hell. We have no effects in standard that can remove counters, right? This is a potential. Well, I would assume it's at least a 3-turn clock. There's no way your opponent doesn't have. Well, you can even kill their creature, and it would be a 3-turn clock. So this essentially would kill your opponent before you lose the game. I think. Yeah. Is this better than Shield Red? Probably not. The card is good, but we have so many good 4-drops and standard. Card's good though. I think your opponent will be forced to kill this most of the time. There might be a deck for it. I don't know. Feels like it is vulnerable to removal still compared to Shield Red. Like at least Shield Red will maybe get you 2 damage before it dies. And this can get you 0. Yeah, I don't know. I like it, but probably not playable. Well, yeah, non-standard. Slow bad. Iron Goblin is a 3 mana, 3/3 red. You can tap it, sacrifice an artifact, and add an amount of red equal to the sacrifice artifact's mana value, and spend this mana only to cast artifacts, spells, or activate mana abilities. Activate abilities of artifacts. I can't evaluate this. I have no idea. I've never played with a deck like this. This is like a pseudo combo deck, probably. I have no idea how to evaluate that. 3 mana 3/3 is pretty good though. That's all I can say about it. I don't know. Evolved Spinoderm. So I mean, I'm assuming the. No, you can't even go infinite with this because it taps itself. I don't know. Weird card. Evolved Spinoderm is a 4 mana green creature. Needs 2 green. My dog's tapping against the wall with his tail. 4 mana 5/5. Evolves Spinoderm, enters the battlefield with 4 oil counters on it. Oh, I didn't pay attention to where I was positioned. I have to put this higher. 4 oil counters on it, and it has trample as long as it has 2 or fewer oil counters. Otherwise, it has hexproof. Beginning of your upkeep, remove an oil counter. Then, if it has no oil counters, sacrifice it. That's broken. That's a really good card. Maybe mono green could actually be a thing now. Proliferate is really good with this kind of nonsense. Norn's Wellspring is a 2 mana white artifact. Whenever a creature you control dies, scry 1 and put an oil counter on Norn's Wellspring. You can pay 1 and tap it, remove 2 oil counters, and draw a card. So you need 2 creatures you control to die. You get scry 2 and draw a card. It's alright. Probably too weak for standard, but so it's still a decent card, I'd say. For now. Blade of Shared Souls, 3 mana blue artifact. For Mirrodin, when this equipment enters the battlefield, create a 2/2 rebel creature token and attach this to it. Whenever Blade of Shared Souls becomes attached to a creature, for as long as it remains attached to it, you may have that creature become a copy of another target creature you control. This sounds really bad to me. But it's also a 2/2. So 3 mana 2/2 essentially. Baseline. If you can make tokens and copy another creature when you equip this. It's not terrible. Too hard to evaluate, I think. This is a card that's impossible to evaluate. I don't even know what kind of deck I would be playing in. We'll have to wait. You have to test this to judge whether it's good or not. Get Thane of Contracts, 3 mana, black creature. Other creatures you control get -1/-1 for 2 black and 1, and you could tap this. Creatures return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. It gains if this creature would leave the battlefield. Exile it instead of putting it anywhere else. Activate only a sorcery. Holy shit. This has to be a fake card now. Wait. Other creatures you control get -1/-1. Wait, this is still broken, right? What the fuck? I don't even know if it'll see play, but on just evaluating its power, it's absurd. Like, you can just have like enter the battlefield creatures that don't die to the -1/-1. I would play this in Angels. Like, you could play Giada, and if it dies, well, even this is broken, right? Like, even Harvester is insane with this. And we don't even have 3-drops that are. I know we do have 3-drops that are pretty good, but this is fucking 3 mana 3/4. Interesting. I don't know. It's pretty good. But I'm skeptical if it'll see any play, because again, it's just pretty vulnerable to removal, although a Braid is pretty popular right now. I don't know. This could see play. The 3-drop slot is extremely contested right now in Standard, though. Not sure. I wish this was playable, but it might be too weak for Standard. That's how strong Standard is. Urabrask's Forge is a 3 mana artifact, red artifact. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put an oil counter on Urabrask's Forge. Then create an X1 red Phyrexian Horde creature token with trample and haste, where X is the number of oil counters on Urabrask's Forge. Sacrifice that token at the beginning of the next end step. Interesting. I like it. I think this is a cool card, but if this was an enchantment, it would be so fucking broken. Every time I see an artifact in this set, I just feel like it's not going to be playable because we have a Braid in Brotherhood's End. And what's that white creature? Laron. And this is competing with Fable, but I guess it's additional, so you'd play this with Fable. And I guess you can copy the token, which is not terrible. I don't know. I don't see it. Cathar Commando? Cathar Commando is not really played. Sure. I mean, Cathar Commando trading for this is fine. No, it's not really fine because they can attack with it. Yeah. This card seems too vulnerable, but it's cool. I play it. Yeah, I know you play it. Thrun, Breaker of Silence. 5 mana, 5/5 legendary creature. Spell can't be countered. Yes! We need more can't be countered, because right now counter spells are just way too annoying. 5/5 trample. And it can't be the target of non-green spells your opponent controls or abilities from non-green sources your opponent. What the fuck? What the? This is fake. This is actually fake. This has to be fake. This is absurd. Like, this might be I don't know, maybe I'm like not thinking about it correctly, but this might be the most powerful creature I've ever seen. What the fuck? Like this card would be good if it didn't have the last clause, but this means that every time you, so it can't die to removal, it can't be countered, so there's zero counterplay, and it has indestructible, which means it can't be blocked, and it has trample, which means that if they do block, if they can't chump block, so they can't chump block, they can't trade it, they can't target it, they can't counter it. What the fuck? This is bad for the game. This is, I like can't be countered. That's fine, but the rest is bad. It's just bad. We don't need this. Legendary? It doesn't matter, dude. It doesn't matter if it's legendary or not. Like this 4-turn clocks your opponent and they can't chump block. It's ridiculous. And it only costs 2 green, so you can splash this. I feel like a card like this should be 4 green and a colorless. This is dumb. This is bad card design. I'm angry. But it's kind of cool to see green getting some good cards, but card design like this, unless I'm wrong, I hope I'm wrong, and they actually tested this and it was actually fine. But I don't see how that's even possible. I don't see how this is fine. This will kill your opponent. So as long as you play defensively and your only attacker is Thrun, and it's an easy target for fight spells, and it's a guaranteed resolution on fight spells. This is bad. I'm angry. Bad card design. This is like Fable level bad, but it's a 5-drop. But it can't be countered. I don't know. And 5-drops can be more powerful, but maybe not this level. Testing cards. Yeah, I don't. They probably didn't test it. I'm gonna be honest. This seems like a card that like a 12-year-old would design. Just stacking all the cool stuff onto one card. I want my card to be indestructible, and it can't be countered, and it can't be targeted. It's like the perfect card almost, you know. This is like a custom card that you would see on Reddit, right? All right, Kemba, Conduring, 2 Thrun barely saw play. Wait. This card? This is a reprint? Oh, whoops. Is this a reprint? I mean, it might not see play because green is bad, but if green is even remotely strong or remotely playable in any color combination, then this will see play. Now, Phyrexian Arena is, what is that? The 3-mana black thing that draws a card every turn. That card's terrible, right? Or am I not thinking about the right one? Okay, anyways. Oh, somebody linked the Troll Aesthetic. 1 green creature, 3/2 hexproof regenerate. Wait, what's regenerate again? It's kind of like can't, like if it goes below 0 HP, it can come back. I don't understand that. I don't know what regenerate does. Anyways, 2-mana 2/2 white legendary creature. Whenever it enters the battlefield or another cat enters the battlefield under your control, attach up to 1 target equipment you control to that creature. Equipped creatures you control get +1/+1, and 5 mana create a 2/2 white cat creature token. Maybe, I mean, in an equipment deck, this is pretty strong, like really good actually, but I don't know. You would have to play cats as well. Don't know. Impossible to evaluate. Unctus. Grand Metatect. Metatect? 3 mana, 2/4 blue artifact creature. Other blue creatures you control have, whenever this creature becomes tapped, draw a card, then discard a card. Other artifact creatures you control get +1/+1, and you can pay a blue Phyrexian mana. Until end of turn, target creature you control becomes a blue artifact in addition to its other colors and types. Activate only as a sorcery. I don't really understand this card. It sounds strong, but it's also an artifact. For me, once something is an artifact, it's a red flag. Like, I don't know. The card is strong though. It's a custom lord, so you can turn your other creatures into an artifact to get the +1/+1, which means it's kind of like a combat trick, and it also costs 0 mana, so you can really fuck with your opponent, but I don't know how I can build around this. I'll leave it at that. It's strong, but probably, well, won't see standard play as it is, but maybe the set will bring some stuff. Oh, there's Phyrexia Arena. At the beginning of your upkeep, you draw a card and lose 1 life. This is just trash. Dragon Wing Glider. 5 mana artifact equipment. And when it enters the battlefield, it makes a 2/2, and you attach it to it. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 flying and haste. Jesus. 5 mana, 4/4. Whoa! But equip 5. Okay, they balanced it. They balanced it okay. I think it's interesting. This might see play, actually. Like, yeah, 5 mana, 4/4 flying haster is actually good. But then it leaves behind an equipment, which is always good. So no matter the equip cost, this would still be a good card. And the equip cost is pretty expensive, so yeah. Yeah, it's a good card. I don't know if it'll see play because standard is weird. But I feel like if you want a 5 mana 4/4 haste creature, then you would play this. Sure. I don't know of any aggro deck though. That's the problem. Like, there's no aggro deck right now, but if there was, then sure. Rot Priest is a 1 green, so 1 mana green 1/1, I think. Toxic 1, and whenever a creature you control becomes the target of a spell, target opponent gets a poison counter. That's one of the better toxic effects, but probably still bad unless we have a lot of toxic synergy. Fixed goals, man. Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Arena was very good in its day. Yeah, but it's not good anymore. Not even close. You can't play this in standard. Unless I'm mistaken. But I don't think you. No, you can't. You can't. Fable is just someone. Fable and Wedding Announcement are just strictly better. Anyways, Skrelv's Hive is a 2 mana enchantment. 2 mana white enchantment. Beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life and create a 1/1 colorless Phyrexian Might. Artifact. Creature. Token with toxic 1. This creature can't block. Jesus. You lose 1 life. Okay. Corrupted. As long as an opponent has 3 or more poison counters on it, creatures you control have toxic. Creatures you control with toxic have lifelink. That is terrible. This is maybe. No. This is trash. I was gonna say maybe playable against control, but they have so many ways of dealing with enchantments. That's not good. Spell Dancer, 2 mana 2/1, can't be blocked. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put an oil counter on this creature. Whenever it deals damage to a player, you may remove 2 oil counters. If you do, when you cast your next instant or sorcery spell this turn, copy that spell. Interesting. I don't I don't even think mono blue would play this, right? Maybe? Actually, maybe they would. I don't think so, but this doesn't seem to be a card any deck would want right now. So again, I can't evaluate it yet. But it's pretty okay power level, I would say. Conduit of Worlds. 4 mana green artifacts. You may play lands from your graveyard. Choose target null non-permanent card in your graveyard. If you haven't cast a spell this turn, you may cast that card. If you do, you can't cast additional spells this turn. Activate only as sorcery. I mean, it's a 4 mana artifact, so I'm just gonna write it off. I guess I'll evaluate it without that factor. It's pretty good. But it's an artifact. But it's kind of interesting. I can't read any of these. Holy shit. I might skip over the ones that I can't read. I'll try. Kaya Intangible Slayer is a 7 mana Orzhov Planeswalker with Hexproof. 6 loyalty. Each opponent loses 3 life and you gain 3 life. So +2, drain 3. You draw 2 cards, then each opponent. Oh. You draw 2 cards, then each opponent may scry 1. What the fuck? Exile target creature enchantment. If it wasn't an aura, create a token that's a copy of it, except it's a 1/1. Jesus. I mean, this is absurdly powerful, but it's 7 mana. But I like it. It could potentially see play in the sideboard. Tivar Brawler is a Golgari 3 mana Planeswalker. You may activate abilities of creatures you control as though those creatures had haste. +1 untap creature. So 3 loyalty. -2 mill 3 cards. You may return a creature card with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. I don't think I can evaluate this. I have no clue what you would play this in, but it's pretty okay. I don't know. Yeah, the -2 is really good. That's what I'm thinking, but it's not like the plus is not that, but you would need activate abilities. I don't know. It's weird. This might be really good, actually. I don't know. Maybe in a ramp deck where you're using creatures to ramp, so you can -2, then the next turn untap your ramp creature, so that's 2 mana. I don't know. Blood Tithe at instant speed? No, Blood Tithe. It's not instant speed. It's Blood Tithe on cast. All right, 3 mana blue-white creature. When it enters the battlefield, you make a 3/3 Phyrexian Golem artifact creature. At the beginning of your end step, if 3 or more artifacts enter the battlefield under your control this turn, create a 3/3 Phyrexian Golem artifact creature. Jesus. Alright, so blue-white is starting to shift towards artifacts pretty heavily. So 3 mana 4/4. That's insane for blue. And we already have Denix, so we have a good 2-drop, and now we have a really good 3-drop. If 3 or more artifacts entered the battlefield under control. I'm sure there's a way to do this. I don't know if it's standard though. But still, this is a good card. I like it. Four mana white-black creature. Legendary. Battle cry whenever this creature attacks, each other attacking creature gets +1/+0. Sure. Beginning of combat on your turn, the next time target creature would deal combat damage to one or more players this combat, prevent that damage. If damage is prevented this way, create that many 1/1 colorless Phyrexian Might artifact tokens with toxic and can't block. The next time target creature. I don't know. Preventing damage to get a wider board state. Let's say you get 3 mites. Next turn you can attack for... I don't know. This card is too vulnerable, I think. And also, I don't know if preventing damage is actually that good in standard. Like, sacrificing damage for board state and getting creatures that can't block. I don't know. I am having a hard time evaluating that. I don't think I can. It's a weird card. It's kind of strong in some ways, but also like the mites aren't actually that good. Like they're not actually good creatures, so you're sacrificing damage to potentially attack for more the next turn is kind of weird. Not sure. Venser Corpse Puppet is a 2-mana Dimir creature. 1/3 with lifelink and toxic 1. Whenever you proliferate, choose 1. If you don't control a creature named the Hollow Sentinel, create the Hollow Sentinel, which is a legendary 3/3 colorless artifact golem. No, colorless Phyrexian golem artifact. Okay, it is an artifact. Creature token. Target artifact creature you control gains flying and lifelink a ton of. What the fuck? How are you proliferating? I can't evaluate this. Okay, I don't know. If so far we've seen one proliferate card, it's impossible to evaluate. Melira, the Living Cure, 2-mana, 2-mana, white, green, 3/3. If you would get 1 or more poison counters, instead you get 1 poison counter and you can't get additional poison counters this turn. Exile, choose another creature or artifact. When it's put into the graveyard this turn, return that card to the battlefield. What the fuck? Return that card to the battlefield under what the... So it's a 3-mana selfless savior, but it can also save artifacts. And it also ETBs the creature or artifact again. Whoa. What is this shit? Why are we power creeping 2-drops? Can we stop? I don't know. Selesnya is not even that good. But this might enable something. I don't know. Like this card is absurd in like Naya aggro with like the King Darien and the Halana and Elena, because that deck did not have a selfless savior effect. Although in some ways this is worse than selfless savior because that deck does not play ETBs, so most likely that creature might be buffed. So it resets the stats. I don't know. Pretty dumb though, but the stat line is dumb. Unnecessary, I think, for it to be a 3/3. But it might not affect the meta that much, so who cares, I guess. This will be a nightmare in draft, maybe. Ovika. Enigma Goliath. 7-mana. Is it why is we have wait, this is the most expensive. What the 7-mana, is it 6/6 flying ward 3 pay 3 life? That's trash. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create X/1/1 Phyrexian Goblin tokens, where X is the mana value of that spell. They gain haste. Woo! Yeah, but this is a fucking 7-mana 6/6 with a ward that is just bad. I like the idea, but this is a 7-mana 6/6, so nope. This is just worse than Hullbreaker Horror, I think, in every single way, shape, and form. And it is a deck. I don't. That's trash. Cathek, Crucible Goliath. 4-mana Rakdos creature. It's a 4/4 legendary creature. the beginning of your end step, you may sacrifice another creature. If you do, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a non-legendary creature card with lesser mana value. Put it onto the battlefield, then put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So at the beginning of your end step, you can sacrifice something else, reveal from the top until you reveal a non-legendary creature with less mana value than that creature you sacrificed, and put it onto the battlefield. I don't know. There's no deck in standard that can use this. The power level is good. 4 mana 4/4 is maybe a tiny bit underwhelming in this current power creep meta. Like if this was 4 or 5, it would be good. It's probably not good in standard, but I think it's interesting effect. I'm sure there's something to do with it. Miglaws. Maze Crusher. 3 mana 4/4 again. Legendary creature. I mean, yeah, even if it's legendary, it's just... When it enters the battle, so it enters the battlefield with 5 oil counters. You can pay 1 and remove an oil counter, and it gains vigilance and menace until end of turn. You can pay 2 and remove 2 oil counters, and it gets +2/+2 until the end of turn. And you can remove 3 oil counters and pay 3 colorless, and you destroy target artifact or enchantment. Wow. So 3 mana 4/4 that can self-combat trick itself. Also give itself evasion and vigilance, gives you a defensive. So it's evading and remaining there as a blocker. So it's an offensive defensive ability, which is really good. And it can destroy an artifact or enchantment. What the fuck? And maybe Gruul is the thing, man. I don't know. Like this card has gotten exponentially stronger. The proliferate, 3 mana 4/4 trample, proliferate with all this bullshit. Jesus. This is just... I'm scared of green now, honestly. Green in the... fuck me, man. Okay. Monument to perfection. 2 mana artifact. You can 3 and tap. Search for your library for a basic sphere or locust land card. I don't know what that means. Monument becomes a 9/9 for 3. 9/9 construct artifact creature. Loses all abilities, indestructible and toxic 9. Only if there are 9 or more lands with different names among the basics, sphere, and locust lands you control. Well, what's a sphere and locust land? Oh, this thing? These? When Glimmer Post enters the battlefield, you gain 1 life for each locust on the battlefield. Sphere? Okay, we don't know sphere. A locust, we have 2. Cloud Post comes into the play tapped. Add 1 to your mana pool for each locust in play. This is... Oh, it comes in tapped. Wait, this is scaring me. Colorless... Wait, this is ridiculous, no? How many... Depends on locust. This is... I hope this is not... Are these in standard? I don't... Now I'm not sure, because this sounds absurd. Like, we're definitely going to see a colorless deck if this shit is in standard. No, I don't care about the monument, but... I don't know. Oh, they're old cards? That's not what we're getting? Okay. Grass, Unstoppable Juggernaut. 8 mana, legendary artifact creature. Juggernauts you control attack each combat. Juggernauts you control can't be blocked by walls. Other creatures you control have base power and toughness 5/3 and are Juggernauts. So what the fuck? 7/5. 8 mana, 7/5. All your creatures become 5/3 Juggernauts. What the fuck? Interesting, like you just make a bunch of tokens and then I don't know. Sounds bad because it's an artifact and it dies to upgrade. And it gets countered, and it dies to removal. Yeah, it's probably bad. Maybe not. Maybe not though. I don't know. Again, if you can like cheat it out or ramp it out, or I don't know. There's maybe something to do here. I can't really think of it because it's not in standard, obviously. But interesting. Tablet of Completion. 2 mana artifact. Tap. Put an oil counter. Add colorless. So you can tap, add a colorless, activate only if tablet has 2 or more oil counters on it. So it needs 2 turns to add colorless. 1 in tap, draw a card, activate only if it has 5 or more oil counters on it. This is unplayable. So it takes 2 turns, and then on your 3rd turn you can add 1 mana, and then it needs 5 turns to draw a card for 1. Oh, that's not it. Nah, it can't even put an oil counter on itself and tap for mana. Yeah, this is terrible. Jesus Christ. Zenith Chronicler. 2 mana, 3/1. Artifact creature. Whenever a player casts their first multicolored spell each turn, each other player draws a card. Not very good in standard, but interesting. Argentum Masticore. 5 mana, 5/5 artifact creature. First strike protection from multicolored. Okay. The beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice this creature unless you discard a card. When you discard a card this way, destroy target non-permanent and opponent controls with mana value less or equal to the mana value. Whoa! Of the discarded card. So this is not actually a real downside. First strike? Interesting. Yeah, exactly. That's what I was gonna say. This is bad. Artifact. Well, this is bad and good because, again, you can cheat it out maybe for less mana. Like you can do Urza into this on turn 4, and then destroy their 4-drop by discarding a 4-drop. Honestly, not bad. I think it's playable. First strike is huge. Protection from multicolored is actually not bad. It's good evasion, essentially. It's not really protecting it, it's just allowing you to attack through. And then discarding to... Well, I mean, you can sacrifice it. That's the thing. You can sacrifice it. If you want. So it's a choice. It's actually not bad. I like it. Cool card. Dies to a braid. Yeah, but I mean, if everything dies to a braid, they can only have 4 braids, right? 3 mana artifacts. As long as Moran's safe house is on the battlefield, it has all activated abilities of all land cards in all graveyards. What does this mean? Does it tap for mana? No, activated abilities. This sounds abysmal, but I don't know. Okay, we have some sphere lands. Tap for colorless. Tap, add 1 mana of any color. Activate only if Myrex entered the battlefield this turn. So it can, on the turn it comes in. Okay. 3 mana tap, create a 1/1 might artifact creature token of toxic. Instant speed? Castle Ardenvale's back, baby. But like this is actually not as good against everything but control, and control is dead, so it's probably bad. And maybe not. Maybe you can sacrifice the token. I don't know. In like a synergy, you use the token to proc some kind of artifact dying thing or sacrifice it to draw some. I don't know. There's got to be something. It's a good land, but it's just weird. Facade enters the battlefield with 2 oil counters. Add colorless. Tap. Remove an oil counter. Put an oil counter on target artifact, creature, or creature. No, artifact or creature you control. Activate only a sorcery. Sure, that's good. Seed Core. Tap for colorless or tap, add 1 mana of any color. Spend this will need to cast Phyrexian creature spells. Corrupted. Tap. Target 1/1 gets +2/+1 until end of turn. Acted only if an opponent has 3 or more poison counters. Interesting. I don't know. These are so hard to evaluate without seeing the whole set. Is the Might an artifact? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think it is an artifact. Yeah, artifact creature. See, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, is that there might be some synergy with like not using the Might as a creature, but using it using it not for combat, but for some kind of other effect. Tap for colorless. 1 in tap. Add 1 mana of any color. Sure, that's pretty good. And then X in tap becomes a copy of target non-token artifact you control with mana value X. That's really good. That's very good. This is very good. Holy shit. So we're getting dual lands that enter the battlefield tapped unless you have 2 or fewer lands. So we're getting fast lands. Okay. Interesting. Very interesting. Fast lands are weird in standard. Very weird. I would tend to say that they're actually kind of bad. Most matchups are mid-range matchups. So the mana really matters, especially on turn 4 and 5. So these are not actually that interesting in most decks in standard right now, but they could be good in other decks. So we're getting blue-white, red-green, black-red, and white-green. Sure, I don't think there's much to say about them. They're good lands. It's just I'm not sure they really fit in current standard. But yeah, that's gonna do it. So I'll end up reviewing other cards once they come out. I'm sure there's a way to like sort by recency or something. But yeah, that's gonna do it for today.